I'm gonna be on that screen. Yeah. Let's see. I found another playlist that I'm thinking I'll enjoy this one. Something about instrumental beats. Pretty much lo-fi hip-hop study beats, which pretty much all the chill hop music is study music if you put it in the right mindset, really. But obviously, there's a little hair. I got a chair. And that is why I didn't stream last time, because I was busy putting this together, because for some reason it decided to have fabric holes in order to actually put the stuff in it, which was honestly very obnoxious to figure out. I need to put the captions on. Continue with Twitchy, because this is the right one, correct? Yes, good. So that can be off in the abyss now. But I got a chair. This is actually very effective. I'm a little surprised I was so stubborn to not actually get a functional chair, because for one, back support, very big thing. It moves. The freaking hand rest things adjust. This is very, very nifty. I like this. And wheels, so I can be sliding. So I have limited side-to-side sliding. Still, I'm so happy I got this when it was on discount. So I actually have a legitimate computer chair that's a lot more healthy for me to use, because I was being a little gremlin in that other chair. And amazing how much distance I was looking upwards this way instead of at least meeting it eye to eye. But now the monitor is a little low, so I am kind of looking downwards, but I can press my head back and this is effective as well. But we'll figure it out in time. Oh yeah, smoothie. I just didn't feel like making breakfast as much as dude, eggs and broccoli and cauliflower, or just a bunch of carrots. But I was like, but I want fruit. I want the creaminess of a smoothie today, because just before it started raining, and it was just nice looking outside, enjoying it as it was downpouring, even though in my heart I was like, the backyard is so muddy now. I just got it fixed because the other neighbor was pouring water into our backyard, so there was just already a giant mud puddle. And now the whole place is a mud, so I just can't win. Clearly, if I have time, I'm just gonna go get wood chips layer it on the ground so the dogs don't bring as much mud in. I don't want to clean their feet that much. I am partly lazy, but even partly I just want a clean room. Delicious. I know the chair distracted me. Was there anything else that happened? Oh yeah, right. I got into a little frenzy and be like, oh, let me make this hex map and fiddle with stuff. Which, can I show you it? Yes, because I do have the PSD of it. Where can I find it? Yes, we'll be here. Now, window capture? There you are. Well, if you will give me my mouse back. Hello? Unhand my mouse. Why have you suddenly robbed me of my mouse? Bruh. Okay, why did my mouse suddenly disappear? We good? Is it dying? Okay, why have you suddenly made my mouse disappear? The hell? Can I have my mouse back, please? It just booped it out of existence for no apparent reason. Not very helpful, computer. But anyways, scooch you along. Let me scooch this over some. That way you can actually see the full scale. Which now it's kind of wonky because now it's all stretched. Beautiful. Now you can see it like that. But yeah, this is where I would start off my characters in their adventure. Avonfall, which a land rich in lifelong bonds, only because Avon could mean, what was it, companion or friend in German? One of the two. Avian. Yeah, and if you look, the very first thing you find is something heart-led venture capital for global game changers. Interesting. I've never heard of that, but... And then you see Alvin and the Chipmunks, of course. Crunchbase, no, I don't need this. I just wanted you to give the explanation, not all this. Oh, look, it's in Paris, France. Never mind that, but anyways. This is another reason I got distracted from streaming Sunday, right? Because the chair came in, I was building that, getting comfortable figuring it out, and then I was like, let me work on this hex thing. I do need to polish it because there is some little spaces that are open, and the water's a little funny to look at. I'm probably gonna have to distort the perspective on it a few pieces, which I may be able to do that. Free transform. Let's see, perspective. Yeah, perspective. That should. If I tweak it like that, that might help the water look a little less odd. Because it's a little too straight and narrow going down that way. But even, it's the whole half of the water should look like it's going on land and not over the mountaintop there. But it's progress. Tweak you like this and then do perspective. Tweak you like that. Okay, but then I'm gonna have to move that other piece of the water. No, you stay there. I want to mess with the other piece. Good gosh. Mess with the other one. No, if I make it a little bit bigger, but then that water is off from the rest of the pieces. Ah! No, if I twist it, I can kinda. Maybe if I turn it just a little bit more. Okay, that does make it appear a little less wonky. Maybe because I was having it on the little stone tiles too close to right at the edge of the mountain piece. Come on, go in there. Go in there. Okay. Let me move it. Let me. Yeah. It's not perfect yet, but that does help a bit with the alignment. Maybe if I put another curve or something in the water. But again, I've only started to work with this hex pack, which I like how it looks. It's colorful, it's bright, but it still feels like you can use it in general when you're building up a map. Which, what was it? Before we were doing... Oh, you like that. We had started off from this little crunchy bit of paper. Well, if you can see it. Well, that's entirely upside down, but going from grid paper, just drawing around the whole world. And I've only started working on the actual legit map sheets. Because in the very middle, we got Avonfall in there. Which this little hex pack's going to help. That way I can flesh it out more so I can see the agriculture, the water, the different little houses, because this is the outskirts of the town where we have way up in the top that little building over here, which is kind of the mansion of the town, kind of the oldest home, the more reputable person who lives there. It's not the mayor, though. This is just someone who's had legacy after legacy lived there, and they've built up quite a fortune, i.e. from the agriculture, because hay bales, the fruits, the crops, and they have a good control over the water, so they're making sure that's getting funneled to that first and foremost. Yeah. Okay, now you go back. Go back there, crunchy paper. Thank you. And now something. Where am I? Come on, leave my eyeball. I like to be able to see. I see. Yeah. That building's the prestigious kind of family who's been living there. I guess just the farmers? No, what's that thing? Marketers? Merchants! There we go. They've become from agricultural production to merchants now, and they work so with the agriculture and the water supply. Because above that little name tag area, there's going to be like a little water area where it has a lot of lily pads and ponds where they can be fishing and cultivating more fish. But that requires me to build another piece of the map, because this is the biggest span of this area that transitions to the next big adventure point. Obviously, we can see caves. Now, you can explore through the cave to get to the other side of the mountain range, or be a little bit more risk-taking and go through the mountains with a more difficult terrain. But you'll gain, obviously, a fight with a dragon. There is more things to pillage and grab because herbs, very rare ones, will be up on these frozen ice caps. Which I do need to change some of these mountains. They're all too similar to each other. Where's the hex pack? Because I know they had a different set of mountains you could pick from. Let's see, for vegetation, landscape, rocky, snowy mountain. Yes, I need to throw that one in there as well. Wherever, too big on the screen. Yes, throw this in here. And throw one of you in there. Yeah. That way I can fiddle with both of them and see how that goes. Obviously, that's way too big on the screen. Scoop that out a little. Then give me the other one. I don't want to warp it. I need the other one. I mean, I don't want it too small. What was the control for that? Oh, yeah. Control up? Is this the one going up or down? One of these will send it to the top. Rocky snow, and yes, this is the one I want. Let's see. Take away that one, because that's the biggest one. No! Don't move the vegetables. I need those right there. So put this here and then send it backwards. You need to move away from my mountains. Ooh, see that? Even because since I have the rocky terrain underneath, it matches better compared to having the green mountains. And this looks a little bit more like the very top peak, the highest one that gets cold. And obviously that's why I put the little come on, word brain. Deciduous. There we go. The deciduous tree with no leaves. Should I put more? But that seems like a lot of work to put them all there. In time I'll do that. Right. I need to put the other mountain. I mean, we could set it up like this, or set some over there. Ooh, or do it like this. Let's try it that way. Set it like that. Take one more so I can do it that way. Yeah. Doable, but essentially like every so clump of rocks, it's very desolate. It's not growing anything. Because again, you see one side of the terrain is rocky, desolate, turning from desert sand to the beach. And the other side thriving, but it does have the water to cut off the area with all the nutrients and soil. Yeah, the soil stuff. I don't know, should I put another rock? I mean, if I could squeeze some rocks behind this mountain set. Yeah, let me try that. Copy you, take a paste, then control downwards. Too far. Okay, I put it like this. Stick you like this way. It kinda seems like I'm mashing it up, but it does give it more rocky texture. Yeah, I'll do that. See, already, little nitpick touches flourishes it out. That way this mountain range looks more like a challenge and more something that they would want to climb over. Because sure, ooh, definitely I'm going to have to make this cave an explorable place. Maybe put a dungeon in there, or a portal. Which, I don't know. I don't think there's anything in this hex pack right now that could work for a cave setting. I mean, well, we could put a fire. We could put lava. It could be something inside of there that's sitting waiting to burst. Ooh, because there is this. Show me. No, come to the top so you can see this massive volcano little hex asset that they have. Yeah, but look at that. This is a really cool volcano. I'm thinking put that inside the cave, and potentially it could burst depending on certain different actions the players take. Something to think about when I design the cave area. But that's all I'm going to show for this. I do need to save a new copy, which I do need to save as that. And that will be the new updated copy. Cool. Making some more progress on that. Let's see. Anything else? I'm still working on that defying... Was it defying? What are your book title? Let me just look it up. It'll be easier to explain if I have it in detail. Defying your... look at that. Freaking Google knew it as soon as I started putting defining decade. So far, it's 89% have liked the book, but that's from Google users, which I don't know how... Oops. Good gosh, how do I keep moving that? But anyways, this is the book that I was reading for a bit. It has a lot of good points. I'm slowly working through it because I want to ingest all that it's talking about in small chunks so I can take it in and actually like compute back out a word. What's the word? A thoughtful a thoughtful thought. Yeah, a thoughtful thought about what I'm reading, and it won't like bubble and disappear. Though it is a bit heavy on the jargon at times. I do like that they're trying to make it personable with the therapy sessions when they discuss different people's problems and how to address said problems. But I haven't gone too much further in it, so we're still working on that. But I think on Sunday even, I was going to obviously play Dead by Daylight, and I found all this interesting research specific to video games that I thought was pretty interesting. One, because a few of them talk specifically about Tokimeki. One of them actually talks about Mystic Messenger. I think the other one just like spans the entirety of the otome game community. So I think it was specific to China. One of the two. So I'm just gonna look at that for a bit. Yeah, here's one. But this is from like 2018, so I've yet to see any other updated articles. I did try to find the most recent ones, or at least the ones that held up enough references to be legitimate. Obviously, like having 8+ references is a good way to do your research. That way it looks like you've spanned the available network of literature and information that is out there from all perspectives. Because if you're going to do research, you have to know, one, you're going to have biases, sadly. Even if you're trying to pursue knowledge, there's already certain things you're going to expect to happen. And kind of your own perspective of what you're hoping will be the answer, instead of pursuing it with knowing nothing. No, that doesn't make sense. That sentence was a jumbled mess. Pursuing knowledge without expecting already an answer. Just pursue knowledge to gain knowledge. That makes more sense. Is it still raining? It's a little drippy now, but it's not as bad as it was earlier, but still. It's cold, it's wet, it's not sunshine, so mud time. But let's look at this. Video games and gender. The depiction of women in Tokimeki Girls' Side First Love. Which, do we have that copy? Aha, I do. Excuse me, Saitama. I need to grab this one. Scoodly boodly. Yeah. But if you don't know, it's essentially from this game. Wow. With the cute little clover. I'm still tempted to get this clover tattooed on me because it's A, bright and colorful, and it would be cute to have all the little... They're not mascots, I mean they're mascot symbols. But anyways, specifically this research is about the first game. I mean, this is the plus version, but essentially the same thing if you're getting to the core of it. Why did I choose a straw? This is so difficult to drink now. But so delicious. Let's see. And I do wonder what other research this person has done. First thing that shows up, your Facebook. Why? But then... yeah, that might be the easier place to go. If you load. Is there really only one article by you? But it is a recent article. I just was hoping to see some more information on your, like, field of study. That has someone else's name. That is someone else, but we don't know quite. Okay, well, Anyways, back to the research, because I don't know anything else about them. Though, to go to the very end, we have lists of the literatures, though their very first literature is game FAQs. And crediting someone else's walkthrough of the game, which there was definitely quite a few times I was on this site. And they use apparently Fiery Light's updated version. Okay. Ah, no, I didn't need to get it off the screen. Right, and go back down, because besides that literature, they have another person's research that we wanted to look at, gender simulation gaming. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is another one, women's games in Japan. I think that's the other article I found. And then the site itself, Konami, to actually have the legit Tokimeki website that they posted. Well, no, they have 3. The First Love, the Portable, and I don't know exactly why they have to put Tokimeki First Love official homepage. Unless they're just crediting the game itself, because it does say Nintendo DS. Do you have to label it that way? I mean, just putting it pretty much 3 times the same exact thing, unless these pages had something different when you viewed it in 2018. Oh, played. So this person even played the game and is mentioning that they purchased a copy of the game in order to research it. Do you do that when you're explaining video game research? If you need to say, like, the actual console you played on? Huh. And obviously, the one that is very popular to read about is the enacting femininity to avoid dying alone. Because, I mean, it's quite the big title to be saying enacting femininity and dying alone. Like, having to say you have to do that or else you die alone. But I haven't found this one. Whatever femininity as performance, but it's probably something that's just an general article on femininity and not video games and that at the same time. Though that is a very short list of research, like literature and resources, but especially in an English genre, to have hardcore information that you can back in a Tomy game, because that's still pretty obscure even up to today, even though there's so many phone versions of these games now and so many being published in English. You still have to pretty much scrounge around for like 1 or 2 articles you can even fact check yourself on. Though, well, if this person does make an update, they could always take the YouTube of Tim Rogers talking about Tokimeki. That would be a legit fact check, since it's a 6-hour video, which I have definitely watched more than once. But it was pretty educational at the same time. Okay. Let's heavily read it, skim it. I mean, we could go through this. How big is this? Scoot you like that. That makes it a little bit easier to read it. And the very first sentence about gender equality. I mean, they're titling video games and gender, but how is that going to pan into the story? But then again, they could be talking about how Tokimeki and Tokimeki Girl Side, how the games play out in a certain pattern. The ongoing discussion about gender equality can be found in any aspect of daily life. One can't imagine nowadays life without media being a part of it. As media reflects society as well, we are influenced by the depiction of world through media that we are consuming every day. I mean, I picked up Tokimeki. Gosh, when, like, could I actually find that? Because I know I got the game through PlayAsia sometime when I was in high school, so sometime in the years of 2009? God! Hold on. Freaking A, I forgot my phone was on. That scared me. That was not exciting to hear that just burst into song. Fuck. And I did turn on the stream closed captioner, right? Hopefully. Should probably check that. To the video producer. Toggle closed captioning. That should be up and functioning, right? Ah! Easily provide. Yeah, it looks like it's up and running, but hang on just a sec. Fuck you. And the doll's gone. Okay. Maybe subjectively odd to have a bunch of green on my eyes while I have purple hair. So kind of I'm a watermelon today. That kind of makes me feel self-conscious, so maybe I'm gonna wipe this makeup off before I go to work and then try something else. Who knows? It's Saturday. We can do whatever we want. And again, I freaking do not want my hair to do whatever it wants to do. And it just sit nicely. Okay, got that conniption fixed.
Skin is pulled taut.
There was something else happening on the screen that I wasn't quite sure what was doing, but my computer was like, let's update. Like, no, we're not doing that right now. I want to look at what the heck this research is. And the depiction of women, specifically in Tokimeki. Well, besides in Tokimeki 1, they could have talked about one... Wait. Yeah, the first love and second love. Yeah, pretty much. Or they could have included third story as well. Because how they depict women in each of those stories is different because rival mode. That's a big thing in the first two games where you start to become friends with a girl and you're friends with the guy too. And then suddenly it makes you pick one or the other and then causes you to like fight for them desperately if you want both of them in your life. Which is a little territorial, a little competition-wise, and it puts you against each other even though everyone has a choice in the matter to decide who they pursue or not. But then they flip the entire script with the third story and your friends are just all buddy-buddy with you. Oh, and then fourth story, now they actually have you hang out with them doing more than just one activity. Sure, you can go to the amusement park and you can have those little 3-person dates, but that was already seen in the other games. And you couldn't really benefit from it before because it was still kind of you being competition with that other character. Yeah. Oh yeah. Come back, music. I wanted to listen to you more. But anyways, in that way, it's necessary to also take a look at video games and how they're influenced by ongoing circumstances of culture, historical, and economic developments. That as well, how people are depicted, and even their stereotypes, what they say. Because even in the game, they heavily imply competition during the Valentine's Day area, that they'll actually ambush you and be like, oh, you're trying to give chocolate to them too? Like, it just seems like a good thing to do. Okay, so this paper going to give an overview of the state of research concerning gender issues and influence on video game industry. So they went very niche with that because sure, there's plenty of papers that talk about gender and influence in video game, but specifically in otome games and how women, the whole genre is being depicted and what they decide to pursue. So the research shows that there is not only necessity for deeper consideration of ongoing inequality, but the gender discourse itself created a gender-specific mindset that highlights but also strengthens prejudice. The invention of women's game, obviously saying otome, women's, this is a whole thing of not just saying this is a shooter game, this is a romance game, or this is a dating sim. Because then there's the connotations attached to that where someone's like, oh, you only play Stardew? Like, it's an intense game if you're playing it for hours on end because, one, you may be doing tedious tasks, but you're improving upon yourself day by day compared to someone else who may be like playing Overwatch or Valorant where they're gaining daily rewards every time. Two different mindsets, but they're still both a video game, both with good qualities. You just are going to have a different experience with both. Because for one you're having to quickly move around, shoot, attack, hide, while the other you're developing and exploring a world inside 8-bit kind of style pixel art. And you do have fighting, it's just in a different style. And it's still very intense because once your health goes, you could lose so much money when you die. Let's see. To give an impression of the function and influence of women's games, looking specifically at the Japanese dating simulation game, and that there's a depiction of an ideal. Okay, yeah, that is a good point because, ooh, that's another one. Like, both in the world of Love Revel and Tokameki, they both have specific parameters you have to meet in order to pursue the character you want to pursue. Even though you could collect all their images and their CGs and all the personal moments of giving them gifts and spending time with them, if you fail to meet the parameters, you're not their ideal person. And just in that fact alone, that crunching 1 or 2 numbers for your stats can absolutely give you a bad ending instead of the good ending is a little crazy. But it does give you a goal to attain when you're trying to do these games where they have a span of time for you. But still, the whole thing of you have to be this smart, this fit, this cultured, this stylish, this popular in order to be on the same level with someone. Which is funny because depending on where you start in the video game, whatever it is, they'll classify you as either an average person or some type of specific set of characteristics that you have to improve upon in order to be seen as worthy of pursuing that person then, instead of putting in time and energy and talking to that person, getting to know them. I do wonder if there is a dating sim where how much quality time you spend with them compared to how many, like, stat points you raise would make them like you more. I mean, ooh, good one that, let's see. Don't fall, games, please. Get it together. Come back here. I see you trying to fall away into the abyss. Hold on. Technical difficulties. My game's trying to run away. Get back in your little shelf. Good gosh. Like how Rune Factory. This is the Frontier one. This one, certain different characters, you can't just give them gifts. Like a character named, I think you have a portrait of her in here. This is so cool. Back when you actually had a physical manual. I missed this. It was just a nice little touch. Yeah. Right down there in purple. Bianca. That character, you couldn't give her gifts. She was already the daughter of a affluent family, indifferent to her surroundings, but her only friend Tabitha being her maid. That character, all you could do was spend time with her, to go chat with her, that you physically go out of your way to say hi, see how she's doing, and that raised her love points for you. That was a way to do it, where you're spending quality time with them, and little by little, they opened up. While another character in this, obviously, Selfie, who you would raise up their love level because you read books at their library. Sure, you could give her gifts, but to actually move her heart level significantly in time was to go read. I loved it. Nice little way that each character had a specific way to interact with them and made it feel more personable to talk to them instead of just, oh, here, I have a diamond, shove it off on you and get like 10 heart points. So I have the new Rune Factory. I don't know if any of the characters have specific little niches like that. Because when I played Rune Factory 4, all the characters had randomly timed events you had to just stumble upon, but they didn't have any special requirements in order to woo them. Sure, some of them you need to beat the game, get a high enough level, but for the most part, you just constantly gave them gifts all the time, and then that would make them like you. Sure, you could talk to them, but there was no like extra side quests that required you to talk to them this many times, learn about their research, or pursue interacting, making friends with their family. Just like little tidbit things. But that was a side tangent on just like dating mechanics in games that don't feel too dry and too to the point. Because pursuing someone is a whole level of communication, interacting, and having vulnerable moments together. But in terms of the impression and function and influence of women's games, looking at from the Japanese dating simulation and the depiction of ideal women. So this comes into play that there aren't any scientists that analyze women's game, which there's a huge market. These games have been around for quite a while, and more and more people are asking, demanding, giving a want for this. But it's even a question of, are these games perpetuating bad ideals, giving over-the-moon romance stories that would never be possible in real life? I mean, people are getting more and more creative. I mean, there's the snail romance game where there's murder mystery going on in the background. There's the letter horror visual novels. There's the raunchy classic school days if you want some terrible bad decisions and just to be a player. Just the variety of different games. Ooh, House of Fata Morgana. Yes, that one. Extensive, beautiful literature and story development in a visual novel. It's not technically a dating sim, but you still have a pursuable person in it. But aren't scientists analyzing it? And that in their conclusion, they're combining aspects of the game with current research concerning the above-mentioned problematic issues. So because there was not already an established base of literature to pull from, having to kind of take the general problem itself and infuse it with video games, obviously using one specific video game in order to branch out. Now, this is very good. This is recent research, so someone else can come along and use this as a base to expand upon the work, which already we have 4 other research that pull from this and predate it as well. I do want to read about that Mystic Messenger research. It'd be interesting. Oh yeah, did I ever fiddle with that? No, I think I didn't. Oh no. Hang on just a sec, I just realized. Did this ever open? No, There you are. I was missing something on my screen. But combining research about gender construction on nowadays society and whatever she can kind of tie together for the video game specifically. Now, for future consideration, applying these results to the real world and not just reconsidering the women inside the game, but also the one playing the game. Good point, because how we play the game and how we feel about the characters too say something. Now, when I played Tokimeki the first few times, of course, I was a person who was like, oh my gosh, these rivals suck. Because at first, having all those friends or your girlfriends in the game who give you better stats on your popularity, your style, your intelligence, your sports, that was great. And you got to hang out with them time and again. But as soon as you started pursuing their intended crush, it ruined the whole benefit of hanging out with them. It took away it, which is a problem, because just because I'm not gaining a benefit from the interaction, it still should be a good time to hang out with them, because, i.e., you've built a friendship with this person, and that the game's really trying to pin you against each other over a boy. Because really, in 2 cases, the boy either picks you and you lose a friend, or the boy picks the other girl and she dips on you. Either case, not great, because we should all get to be friends with each other since we've obviously have some common interests. But it rips you apart and even penalizes you heavy if you try to stay friends with the girl knowing that she does not like you right now, that she's like, I am your rival, get away from my man. And it stresses you so much in game to do activities with her, which is very toxic as well, realizing, because she doesn't really interact with you. She's always grumpy, frowny face. So you're putting so much effort on the character themselves to appease them and still pursue the other person and do all your schoolwork, and if you have a job too. Yeah, that's actually very, very bad that the game puts that pressure on the person, and especially because you have a very short amount of time to do this. Because every time I've had this happen, it's either super early in game and I can just knock it out of the way, get my friend back, or it happens way at the end of the game when you have only 3 months left, so there's no time to save your friendship, but then you have to spend all your time with the guy to make sure she doesn't snatch him away. Oh, it's so exhausting when that happens. So this whole little part about future consideration, but yes, the women inside the game, but they are still two-dimensional. They're not truly real compared to the one who's playing the game, but how you're subconsciously interacting with those characters is something. Now, construction of gender, obviously you talk about some of the points that they want to address in the story. That world of video games, predominantly an area of male gamers. I mean, how I really even get introduced to video games? I mean, Pokemon, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Diablo. What was it? Disney Magic Kingdom, when that was an online service. Madeline, when that was a PC game. Yeah, pretty much those set of games were really pretty much the main entry that other people knew about. There was Vikings, but Vikings, me and my sister played together because we had 2 different controllers. And we loved that game. It was fun, it was a challenge, and it had kick-ass music in the background. But then suddenly, from there, entering into like school, where you had other people play these games, playing Pokemon, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! What is it? Beyblades. And then having Call of Duty enter the ring, and GTA, and there's something else going on too, the video games, but a lot of people be competing against each other and pitting them, and like, oh, you're not that great at this game, or you can't play this because it's targeted for this demographic instead. And see, not just video games, but technological tools in general are still not that famous around women. Which, depending on who's making that media, who's getting the coverage, is it being highlighted, or is someone else getting the credit compared to someone else? Now, the internet... Wait. Attempts to make jobs in technological industry, the internet, or video games appear more interesting to a female audience have been made quite often. I mean, they say this, but then they've backhanded given overly pink, simplistic, tutorial-heavy stuff, which is very frustrating when it feels like they don't want you to play the game freely, they want to hold your hand, or when they're like, oh, this is for coding for women, and like labeling it specifically like that. I'm like, that's a bit of a problem. You're targeting like that instead of just general. It's a whole bag of stuff. But in that context, the problem that always comes to mind are gender issues, most commonly gender inequality that still seems to be a predominant problem when it comes to nowadays life aspects where women don't seem to have an equal opportunity to approach and acknowledgement, which if you're ever online and you read about women in tech companies in heavily male employed places, or they're the more competent person and they're getting guys to walk in the door and they get the better jobs. I mean, you hear about anyone who's in electrical engineering, any of the STEM programs. Even though they want to say it doesn't happen, it does happen. Sadly, more and more it can be improved, but there's still quite a few people who have the audacity to bring people down who go into these fields when they generally love the field, but the people in the field are the nightmare to deal with. Obviously, aiming for a state of gender equality in any sphere of life, but a large majority of women still feel inferior in many areas of daily life. Yet still, scientists begin to realize that the ongoing discourse of gender inequality and its expansion of any aspect of life might even strengthen the already existing prejudice and highlight the construction of gendered identity, which that's the other article that's predominantly this one. Gender Simulation Gaming Research Review and Redirections. But this was published in 2010, which that's now 12 years old. But it has quite a bit of work, though it is surprisingly only about 20, no, not 20 pages. About 14 pages, but compared, this one has a lot of literature to back with it. A little intimidating, but it goes to show how much this was the basis of how this article was able to expand upon it. Now, in terms of technology, and especially in the study, a certain mindset created by the constant discussion of gender issues makes it necessary to take a closer look at video game industry problem of female inferiority into account. Okay. Women, and specifically in video games, and especially since there is games that do have dating elements, but they're targeted to a different demographic compared to how Tokimeki is demographic, because it's very varied. For one, you can pursue the game any way you want. You don't have to end up with another character, but at the end of the game, it does kind of bash you or shame you for not pursuing romance. Even though you could be at the top of the ranks, have a great job lined up, and you made friends, it will still kind of be like, if only I could do more. It just makes you still regret not pursuing it. The game very lightly still shuns you for being alone or single in the game. Okay, this is about good skills, video games, showing interest in games for their free time. Now, the whole thing of probably a lot more people would interact with these games, but because social expectation or a lack of skill compared to their counterparts, they're not going to have, like, openly talk about playing games in their free time, because someone would be like, oh, what's your shooting time, or whatever the heck it would be. I don't know how you would classify that. Or you would just say, what's your rank? Wait. Oh, referencing to Jensen de Castle's that construction of femininity influences women on their own self-perception in a way that can be found in many aspects of daily life. Technological competence, so seen, has less to do with actual skills and more to do with construction of gendered identity. That is, women lack technological competence to the extent that they seek to appropriately perform femininity. Correlating, men are technologically competent by virtue of their performance of masculinity. Less to do with actual skills, but more with the construction of the gendered identity. Being technologically competent, like, obviously, we see it every day where someone's like, this is the first time I'm using Apple Pay. Now, everyone can figure out how to use Apple Pay if they have the service to do that. Obviously, I mean, one and more. They need a phone. If they don't have the phone, they won't be able to do that. And that won't be bad on them. It's just they don't have that technology to use. But if they do have the phone and the means of accessing the internet to find out how to use it, that's where the case of less to do with actual skills and more about the construction. Because it just only takes a few points and clicks to be like, hey, how do I do this? How do I build a bed? How do I turn off the water main? How do I learn how to do Tai Chi? It's not really a lot of skill to figure out how to be technologically competent. It's more of just to do it. But then it says, like, that's another thing. This article has just talked about women in general. I don't know if it's talking about cis women, if it's talking about trans women, if it's talking about non-binary. That's another thing. This article's very one or the other side, which is a little complicated because this article should be more fleshed out, because some of even the identities of these characters in game do sway a bit more ambiguously when you have conversations with them. They could potentially be bi. Honestly, some of them don't seem like they're straight and arrow. Now, obviously being forced into a certain role, gotten used to performing the role. Not only must the fiction of the gendered splitting be taken apart, but the psychic struggle engaged in by girls and women to live out the impossible contradictory positions according to us must be addressed, as much as must the paranoias of the powerful that understand women's success as a conscious or unconscious threat to their position of superiority. A threat to their position of superiority? Just wild. Like, can't we just have success? Thinking it's a threat in any form? The struggle to find balance between their real interests. Obviously, some people feel like if you don't play a certain game, you're not an actual gamer, which is frustrating, or people will really bash you if you don't have a gaming PC to play your games. Like, not everyone has that kind of crazy money to spend. Now, in terms of video game industry, the lack of female players led to the invention of games intentionally created for girls and women according to their probable interests. Now, that's a problem, because then they're just making the assumption like, we don't have enough female players, let's make a game that's specific to those maybe interests. Which, going on a quest, going on an adventure, talking to people, interacting with the environment, having consequences for actions, All that sounds very broad, but could be very doable in any kind of game. Any murder mystery game, most people would pick up because it's suspense, it's thriller, you don't know what's gonna happen next. Except in this case, intentionally created for girls and women, which, what was it? They made specific games for Peach? Princess Peach, which some of it sounded like it was actually a pretty fun game. I still not found a working copy of it. But I think some people were talking about how it depicted emotions as power. I don't know. I need to re-look at that game because it was something about... She had abilities, but they were like very specific abilities. Identification and gratification as women. So have the chance to feel. Now, sure, having gratification and identification in a video game that reality may not give to you could be fun. And like VR chat, where you can be anyone you want and you can be in the mirror and see the ideal version of you or a different person altogether. There's an overall lack of women in the role of the casual superheroes in video games. And even if women play an important role, stereotypes, sexualization are still problematic issues. Was that an issue when what was it? There was a DC game that was kind of like Mortal Kombat, but it had like a plot. But then one of the plots was like Diana was with the evil Superman of the different universe, if I can remember that. But she was like just his underling, kind of like his second command. She wasn't her own person. I don't know exactly what happened in that, because obviously that was like a alternate reality, which somehow Joker got warped into as well. It's been a while since I've seen that game. Moreover, as mentioned above, it is uncertain if the invention of video games according to female preferences really reflect their true interests or more or less stresses the pattern of femininity that are expected from women due to ongoing gender constructions. Well, I mean, having a dating game and having a romance game and having an adventure game, and even how choices are built up in that game. Let's see, like Walking Dead, when they had Clementine as a character. I know some people felt like some of the choices when they first met Clementine when she was older, they felt like she was very cold, she was very bitter, but the fact of the matter, she was a kid who suddenly had to be on her own in a worn-torn, zombie-infested place on her own, after already seeing so many people betray her, betray people she cared about, and having to just cope with that pretty much on her own. It would make anyone appear that way, but it was a very good quality to have because she was a survivor. She had made it that far. I haven't played the whole end game of Walking Dead. I have those last two games I need to finish because I only got up to the point where they went back to that junkyard, some shooting began to happen, somebody got shot, I can't remember. Okay, now we get into more the otome games about forming interpersonal relationships in the game while doing some other like mini games, dating mechanics, or visual novel. As such, Angelique, 1994, the year I was born. Now, what was the objective, Angelique? I think it was like you had to become like a queen, or at least become an ideal queen to the world. No, I copied the whole word. What do you... Bruh. Okay, don't listen to what I'm typing. Weird. Copy that. Angelique. No, be Angelique. Angelique, the game! Otome. Yeah, so this one, where you're competing against this other one, so you're rivals, which is good and bad of having someone else you're competing against, but they're going to be seen as cold and calculating compared to the light-hearted, sweet character who is kind to everyone. What is the objective? That way I can make sure. Objective. We have the Wikipedias. Who is the MC in Otome game? Obviously the main character. How do you explain? Romance games for women began with a management sim. Okay, well, Kotaku, I can at least rely upon them to be somewhat impartial. Now, dialogue light management sim. They translated it. So basically, the Queen of the Cosmos wants to step down, selects 2 people who are potential successors, who are a pair of Japanese high schoolers with French names. Ooh la la. Now, dating is big in the game, but your actual goal is develop a piece of land. What? Really? Like, that's the objective of that game? To develop a land? Okay. Never knew that. Now I know. And I shall disappear a moment, so I'll be back. Look at you! Of course you're gonna fucking scare me like that. Why were you gone from the front of your tank? You... Fuck you. Stop scaring me. You stupid. Dang it. It was hiding inside. It looked empty to me. It looked empty to me. Maybe subjectively odd to have a bunch of green on my eyes while I have purple hair. So kind of I'm a watermelon today. That kind of makes me feel self-conscious, so maybe I'm gonna wipe this makeup off before I go to work and then try something else. Who knows? It's Saturday. We can do whatever we want. And again, I freaking do not want my hair to do whatever it wants to do. And it just sit nicely. This is one rusty, dusty, crunchy box. I hit my toe. The turns. I hate this stupid shit that hides on the ceiling. Fuck you. And the doll's gone. Okay.
I'll show you, you damned scoundrel, what bread you're worth.
Good! Ma'am! Do I seriously have to go find the hammer again? Wait, is she putting me in the freezer? Where am I? What are you humming? What is... Hear me, I was like, it's Hamtaro, it's so adorable. I was freaked out by the last video game, so let's play adorable hamsters trying to save love while there's cute 8-bit music in the background. Because I do want to play this one again. I did play it on the Game Boy Advance when it came out. I do want to play the Rainbow Rescue game as well. Ham Ham Heartbreak I've played into completion. They are so fucking cute. This beginning music is adorable, as you can hear. Fucking adorable, precious, and even there is a little figurine of Hamtaro coming out, which I should be showing you guys because it's a fucking adorableness.
Skill is not super great, but I'm sure I will still do well.
Okay, good. I had to step away. I'm just drinking too much liquids today. I'm just like, I need to pee again. The stress. But at least I know my body's functioning, so yay. Oh, that doesn't need to be on screen. Get away. I have too many documents open. But never knew Angelique was about making the land more, like, I guess, praised. Definitely need to check it out when I have a chance. But obviously, you're competing against someone else. You're trying to get more people, I guess, involved with your landscaping. Now, conversations play an important role in the character, interacting, the dialogue, making choices. But, on the other hand, otome games make it possible for women to identify and express themselves in the media of the game. Okay, sounds good. What could be the catch on that? Then again, there is the fact of the choices they give you are limited. You have a certain character personality you work with in most of these games, which doesn't give you a variety of, like, fleshing out your personality. Because, like, if you've played Our Life Forever or Beginning and Forever, that game, you flesh out your character so you feel like them and you can identify. But Tokimeki itself, it gives you a limited of being, like, super smart, super cutesy, or sometimes being really negative. So it doesn't give you an actual personality technically when you talk to them, because you only talk in a certain way when you're discussing things with your friends or in-game. Like, what is it? The vampires that recently was out. The MC in that series, the Diablo lovers, where the character was just seen as a ditzy blonde who would still do things that they were not allowed to do and still get in trouble, but then be a crybaby at the same time. Very frustrating. Or, a good way to put it in the world of Tokimeki, your character could just always be scared of the haunted house, but only if she goes with certain characters does that personality change where she's the brave one. For the most part, the guy is the one who enjoys the haunted house, and you have to just hold their hand and brave through it. But then, like with the roller coasters or when you do bungee jumping, they would always depict your character being terrified while the other person's having a great time. Even though you, the player, could be having a great time, your character's being portrayed as someone who couldn't possibly do those things, which is frustrating because we the person who played the game set up that date to do that activity. So why can't we have the character reflect that too and be excited and not being like, oh, I can't do bumper cars? No, like, why? There we go. Now we start to get into it. Described as earlier, prejudice that had been created due to the constructs of gender identity might be preserved through such gender-specific game content that draws focus on aspects of dating, fashion, conversation, and relationship building. Another big thing is, certain characters only wanted you to wear certain outfits, such as if you went on dates with Shiba, Or if you went out with Masaki, who was my favorite character from second season, they had preferred clothes they would like to see you in. But if you wore stuff they don't like, it didn't make the start of the date feel well. It made you feel bad for choosing those clothes, even though you yourself could like those clothes choice. So it's a little frustrating where you're forced to buy with hard-earned money in the game fashion choices that you yourself don't like, but you're trying to appeal to a certain character, so you have to wear them. Like, from, what is it? He's on the back here, I know it. Right, let's see if we can get closer to you. That character, I mean, this is terrible to focus on, but essentially that character. Or it might be easier to see him if I pull out the... dropping things. Where are you? Good gosh, I've gone through this so much, the paper is curling. Let's see. This dude. Right here. That character himself, when you play the game, when you decide to pursue him specifically, you have to level up your charm so quickly, so fast, that your other stats could get detrimental while you're trying to make sure you're pretty enough for this guy in order for him to talk to you consistently. And he tells you to wear only like certain outfits in order to impress him enough to stay bonded, which is very frustrating because sure, it's a story where bad boy redeems himself, but still, when you take the whole story apart, he really does disrespect you and put you in danger at night, which is terrifying in some cases. Thankfully, the game does give you the option to reject him at that point, so if you want to let him go, you can, but that's a big point on the whole gender equality, that you have to be a pretty girl who is stylish and fashionable in order to pursue him. But then you have, like, freaking the guy over here with the umbrella who's from the previous high school. All you have to do to meet him is just go shop. You don't even have to buy anything, and you develop a character dialogue with him. And obviously, we can talk about controversy because having older men who are pursuable in the game is always going to be that ish thing, but I mean, they're not as old as the principal was, so it is a fantasy though. And obviously having baby-faced character you can pursue who's actually like a devil, little devilish, little mischievous. But yeah, all these characters, they had specific clothing options that they wanted you to wear, that they would praise you for. So a bit of psychological reinforcing and shaming you, or even manipulation, where the character would be like, he really didn't like me wearing that elegant outfit. I guess I gotta wear a sexy outfit next time. So that's a very... Hopefully they talk about the fashion portion of the game as well. Go back here. Now, take a look at the famous Otome game. Taking mentioned discussion on the gender-specific games into account, you'll analyze the picture of women that is created in this specific dating simulation. From boys, okay. Very first thing to adjust, because Tokimeki started as a romance for high school boys to pursue, but it got more and more popular, so the girls' side was created as well. And that came out in 2002. And only, what was it? It's 2022. Tokimeki came out last year? Holy crap, it's like almost gonna be a year since Tokimeki 4 part came out. It's freaking wild. But referring to the online portals, Konami made certain changes in the structure of the game to make it more appealing to a female audience, i.e. that you have shopping. Because I'm guessing that's not an option in the first Tokimeki, because when I play the SNES version of Tokimeki, there is no option to go shopping when you're the boy character. All he has is his school activities, homework, studying, talking to his friends, calling people. But when you play a girl side, shopping then becomes a big portion of the game, because what outfits you wear, certain perks you get, meeting certain characters is only done if you go shopping. Because in First Love, you could only meet the foreign exchange student if you went shopping. You would only meet the delinquent if you went shopping. And you saw only certain scenes for CGs of different characters if you went shopping as well. So it forced that aspect to be important in game. Plus, did like wearing the outfits give you like plus bonuses? Like, I do wonder that. I cannot remember if that actually helped you pursue the game faster. The shopping guide? Like, wearing the clothes, what exactly did it do for us? Ooh, there's a memorial. Ooh, there's trading cards. Don't be tempted by that. Go away. Anyways. And we had the possibility of becoming friends. While in the boys' version, you already had friends established. But I mean, it did have you set already in that town. While the girls' version had you enter into this new place with these new people being entirely new. I mean, it did show a few like childhood friends, but they were like people you met for like 5 minutes and you'd like, oh, we were destined to be together. And, like, Tokimeki, the original version, had it a lifelong childhood friend that you knew like thoroughly. It wasn't like a new person that you only met for a second. So that's another thing that's different when you look at both versions of the game. The shopping, having to become friends with people and not having already established friendships. People were seeming more mysterious and less, I don't know, what gremlins out there. What's the thing I'm trying to say? It's the shopping, having to make friends and not having established friendships. But then there's childhood friends having an actual established relationship already, with not being like strangers to lovers. That is something the girls' version loves to do, where all these people mostly were strangers to you. Only in Fourth Heart did it really give you childhood friends that felt more involved in your life and they weren't too odd being so close to you already. Because then it kind of felt like you were having to be heavy-handed pursuing people, even though they already had an established friendship already, but you still had to do twice as hard work for them. Like with Hazuki, even though he was supposed to be your friend when you first met him in the church, he has the highest stat requirements in all of the game, and you have to like date him a whole bunch of times. It's exhausting. Now, referring to online fan portals, playing through the whole game takes up to 5 to 10 hours. 5 to 10, that is like someone speedrunning. I usually take like a week to finish one playthrough because I'm trying to get good choices, have the best clothes on it, and not mess up, and get the most CGs out of that playthrough. Now, in general, huge number of fan pages and playthroughs exist because it's difficult to play the game successfully, but ending up with a pursuable partner, if you don't have any information on them, you're kind of guessing and choosing how to act. But more than likely, your first playthrough, you're not going to have someone. I do remember my first playthrough of the game, I had second season as my first copy of Tokimeki. Then I went back and I got First Love, but second season being the first of the Tokimeki games I played, first person I tried to pursue, I think I actually tried to pursue the teacher first and foremost. Didn't quite get his end, but I did get a congratulations from my friends, but no one stayed at the ocean with me. I was by myself, but I had really great grades, I was in a good job, and I had high stats to go to school. And it took me, I think, 2 more playthroughs to actually successfully pursue the character and actually get CGs at a reasonable pace. Now, concerning their characteristics, obviously, when you're playing the game, you don't know what the male characters are searching for in a girl who they want to pursue, because you don't know what is the right choice when you're given those optional dates. You don't know their interests, you don't know which places they like, dislike, and you don't know what they want to wear. So that's the whole thing of forcing a very specific character type of, hey, if you want to pursue character B, you have to fill in all these requirements or else nothing's going to happen. Damn, just push me. Rude. Still have so much smoothies to finish. Yeah, I'm sorry, I know you can hear voices out there as well, but just ignore it. Now, various types of dating partners make it possible for the player to play the game several times, experience new dates, and at best different kinds of happy endings. Now, in the structure, you have your blood type that influences your horoscope, your different bedrooms that influence your friend that will be your first person, but you can't choose the look of the girl character. And let's see. Also, the dialogue, no one can hear your own character's voice, but you read along. So they don't give you an identifying face or voice for your MC. And that you're forced to start with first semester of high school in a new place where you don't know anyone, apparently. And besides, like, the main person. And then there's some image here. Don't know what it was. Now, stress, you have to constantly worry about that. Your intelligence, your arts, your wealth. Now, so now we go into the examples. A boy who's into literature will pay attention to the intelligence in someone, while someone else, you have to do a certain job, a certain activity to even pursue them. Obviously talking about the structure of the game, club activities, calling people, going shopping. Literally will stumble onto them throughout the game. So, these other female characters also develop romantic interest in the boys, and the possibility that former friends become rivals. In that case, the friendship is over right away. And even the whole bombing system in the game, besides having the other female characters fight you for a guy, you have the guys as well who will bomb you because you're not spending enough time with them if you're friendly at all. And you have to, like, either call him and ghost, or you have to go on a date and give terrible answers for them to calm down. Which is another point that the game literally forces you to have to hang out with people even though you're not pursuing them, or else they're going to ruin your reputation for a bit. And then the whole fact of, what is it, our little brother, Tsukushi, he would be a little weird and try to give you kisses on New Year's. That was a little strange. Why is... Oh, I guess they have, like, images from the game, and there's just, like, giant blanks in between pages. Now, talking about Tokimeki, about the... how you see if someone really likes you or not. And now we get into the dating portion. If they want to go on a date, the player has to pursue them until otherwise they reach that threshold where they will ask you themselves. Oh, so here it is. You can choose your outfit. Hi, Tudu. I mean, there's just a lot of research into Tokimeki and a lot of otome games that I've not quite read up on. And it is even just eye-opening to understand how the game has evolved over time, and even realizing how it depicts the fashion, but it's so heavy-handed on the fashion, the shopping part, because it's on the girl side. But it would be nice if they had a Tokimeki for the boys' side that had clothing and all the shopping mechanic. It kind of feels a little gypped that one side of the game company did get this other kind of colorful mini game to have, but the other half never got to pursue it. It's a little frustrating, and it's frustrating that you don't have guy best friends as well in the original Tokimeki. Technically, you have guy best friends in girl side, but it's the whole unrequited love friendship zone. Okay, so the whole thing of the fashion, where you can get a compliment from your dating partner, but the opposite can happen as well, where they won't say anything nice, they'll look at you disappointed, they'll make you feel bad and shame you, which is not fun because there's the whole minigame of playing fashion. You should be able to wear what you like and not be met with disappointment and negative. And specifically, they get into the swimwear when you're going to the beach, the indoor pool, and that he'll instantly be like, either too much sex appeal, not enough sex appeal if you don't wear a cute bathing suit. It's very frustrating. And then the process of the date, too, as well, where they're going to give you only 3 options, and you have to understand his personality to understand what is the correct choice he wants to hear. Even though it could be something you don't want to actually say, it's the only way to get good points with him. And especially when you take shopping dates, you could actually legitimately like the item, but he's gonna be like, I don't like that. And then he just will storm off afterwards and be like, sorry, I left the date so mad. Like, good gosh, passive aggressive. And especially when they're bombing you, they'll show up at your house when you're on a date with someone else and act super creepy, just waiting for you. That's another part, realizing that Tokimeki is super creepy. For one, all these characters know your walking schedule, where you live. Most of them already have your phone number, and they know what classroom you're in. So you have no actual safety. Fuck, that's actually very disturbing to realize that happens in game. Like, there's times where I've played the game and I have 3 or 4 people bombing me all at once, so they just show up in front of my house, or they're on my way home, walking home, and they're just staring at me mean mugging. And the whole fact of when skinship got into this game as well. But again, the whole skinship thing is culture-based too, because this game's Japanese, so obviously they're not going to want you to just touch people all over unless you're in a relationship and you're pursuing them. If you're just hanging out with them like the first 2, 4, 6 times and you start trying to touch their face, they might be mad. I can understand that minigame being maybe confusing to some people, but it's a fun thing to try out, though you could end up losing more points than gaining. Now for the birthdays, like Christmas and birthdays in the game, I mean, you could buy whatever you want. I mean, sure, you might not get the best response, but still, you went out of your way to buy an item, so the character really can't be that mad. Especially because they do the white elephant, so you don't know whose a gift you would actually get if it was truly random. But then Valentine's Day, they really penalized you in this game with the whole stir left, stir right. Because it was very quick to time you out if you didn't go the right direction. Which, it is nice they took that option away in the later games, but it did make it too simple and just made it cutesy instead of a good challenge, so they should have found a way to mix the two options together. Like, you should be able to decorate it to save yourself points, but still do the left and right motion in order to make it a better quality chocolate. If they make a 5th one, hopefully they infuse the two, because I don't want just a decorating simulation. The love confessions. Oh, that's a very short piece, but I mean, pretty much you have either you say yes or no to them, or you have the best friend come in and they tell you that they actually love you. But pretty straightforward if you get the requirements and you get the certain amount of dates and you get them love. Easy thing to do. But being a woman in Tokimeki Memorial, this is more so the activities, the different friendships, and being a girl, you have certain activities you can pursue. There we go. There's something in here. Also, the fact that the girl is earning money on her own isn't for her sake to afford a living. The only thing we can actually use our money on, that we see it actually like depleting for, is if we buy clothes, if we go buy accessories, or if we buy gifts. There's no other time we use the money. Money is somehow both limitless and useless in this game, where you don't use it for your basic essentials, you don't use it for school, you don't use it for the train or the bus. We just buy gifts, we buy like almost like frivolous things, but nothing that makes our life more better quality, which is a little weird. But I mean, they didn't really do that with the first Tokimekis as well. You could go buy... Could you buy gifts? I don't remember running into that when I played the boys' version of Tokimeki. I know it was an aspect in Tokimeki 4, but it's been so long since I played that. Like, a good version to this is talking about another visual novel, True Love, where the pursuable... Well, no. Yes, True Love, another game that's similar to this. The character had a place of their own, but you never see them pay for the place, because apparently their parents are covering it. But whatever money they earned, they could buy stat boosters, energy refillers, they could buy gifts, or they could buy little special bonuses that help them, which was a nice way to let your money grow. But then in Tokimeki, you don't have any of those special perks that you can gain by buying stuff. The clothes, the presents, all they did was appeal to the guy. It didn't benefit our character in any way. It didn't make him stronger, faster, more intellect. It didn't let you buy treats for yourself. So, being a woman, you only get a disposable income for frivolous things. It doesn't let you feel like an accomplished adult in any way. And that it was only necessary to make a good impression when going on a date. So it mattered nothing else to have money. Even though you could have a great job and you enjoy it, all your money is just going to making a good impression. Now, the necessity of going shopping has many options to possibly change your outfits, appealing to the date's partner preference, emphasizing the importance of outward appearance in a girl when it comes to dating. Heavy-handed, good and bad, because it's the whole thing of like being well-dressed, being put together, but then the game really forces you to change your outfits every time. So you have to have multiple things that you can switch out. And you can't wear it twice because he notices that. Which is a little frustrating that he's so concerned to pay attention to that, when maybe paying attention that we're on time, having conversations with you, something else could be more important. And more so, it stresses a prejudice that all girls and women are, or at least should be, interested in shopping. Which, that is a capitalist push too. It's like, so I have to buy fashion in order to appeal to someone. I can't just wear what I want, express myself in my personal way. Now, there's another thing, having a character express his discontentment that we're not in a happy relationship, when he should just be worried that I'm happy in life. Because not everyone has to have a relationship. And really, this little brother character we have, somehow could be stalking on people, having information that should not be readily accessible to a young boy. Like, how did he get this information without someone either handing it over to him or him overhearing it? Because even when you look online, you can't find people's information super easy unless you go digging. Because most people now put stuff on private because people can find stuff. Now, the dialogues. The real meaning of the discussion doesn't have any importance, as the partner only shows contentment when the girl answers according to his opinion, not to her opinion. That's another big thing in the game. They just want to hear themselves be affirmed, for you to express interest in them, or that you are on the same page. it's a little frustrating you can't have differing opinions or say something random. Like, real conversation, you don't have to say, yes, I see that the plant is 6 feet tall. Let's talk about the biology of the photosynthesis, when you yourself may want to say, I wonder if you could eat it. It's very frustrating that you could lose heart points because you want to say something funny because that's how you want to portray yourself. But then the dating partner won't appreciate it because it's like, I want someone intellectual only. I don't want the jokes. Even though people are multi-dimensional, they want to be more than just one stereotype. Ooh. Shrinking chance to end up in a relationship. This aspect can be interpreted as submission of the girl towards the boy. So having to say what he wants you to say instead of what you want to say. Man, they're really picking apart this whole game mechanic. Though I think this like comes to the end of their article. Wait, what's that? Oh, yes, of course. They have to bring up, like, by the way, in First Love, you can pursue your principal who's... What is it? Is he, like, supposed to be, like, 20 years older than the main character? Let's see, Tokimeki... First Love... Because what is it? Bucky, The Bachelor... Where are you? Okay, so 1996, February, so how old is he? Because I even have to base it on the time this game was released as well. 1996, how old? Goddamn! Like, from the year 2022, and for this main principal pursuable character you could literally pursue very quickly at the start of the game. Right now, age 56. So how old in, let's see, when Tokimeki, I think we can put like 2008? How old? If I was born, how old am I? Find my age. 42! If you were playing Tokimeki in 2008, pursuing that man, 42 years old, while the main character in that game is not even 18 yet, and being a 42-year-old man, that's a big old controversy. But his identity is officially hidden, and that he doesn't explain why we drive in his car when we meet him. I think that we meet him the first time from the car. I know we go in his car a few more times, and there is another teacher character you can pursue who takes you home via the car. And especially talking to us saying we're a lady, but even saying stuff like being a lady but being a girl at the same time. And the only way you can pursue that principal character is if you level up your charm, your ladiness, your manners. That stat. Nothing else really heavily mattered in comparison to that stat, because that was required to meet him those first few times to unlock him. Now, there is one main aspect that shows that women as an active part of the gameplay. She's the one who actively invites the potential dating partners. She can say yes or no, and she can decline certain places if they don't want to go there. but the partner can still decide whether they go or not go, and then we end up wasting a weekend because of that, which definitely you have to save it. Now, yet still, the choices she makes concerning location, outfit, and so on are always influenced by the interests and preference of the male dating partner, which is frustrating because it should align with her own personal beliefs and not have to bend over backwards for the character. Unless it's like one of those out-of-the-world crazy characters who are like an ancient demon or god. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to be a little bit flexible with our beliefs and opinions, because this is something above human. And that comes to the conclusion of this article, okay? But of course, as the game belongs to the genre of dating simulation, it's understandable that the focus is on dating and striving to end up in a happy relationship. But so many new games have come out where you don't need to have a romantic. You can have platonic, you can have friendship, you can have kind of those endings where you just are people and you survived an event together. And you have games where even though everything could be done right, those characters die in the end and you don't get to pursue a relationship. I.e., if you ever played The Letter, the canonical ending forces the two romantic interests to have one of them die, which really sucks. I mean, there's obviously another part where the canonical ending, they kill off another character that feels a little bit like they're bashing. But then again, it does give you a good horror scare moment, but still. The canonical ending kills several people and ruins the romantic tension and build-up. But it's satisfying because they were able to reconcile some differences and just talk to each other finally, even though now they're together in spirit, technically as friends. But aside from that, but as the intention of the game was targeted to young girls and women, because Tokimeki still came out on DS and 3DS and the PS Vita and PlayStation 2, all very readily accessible consoles and game systems for most people, and you could pick up and go that game. So having that kind of romantic gameplay where you pursue people who are questionably really older than you, questionably younger than you, forcing you to dress in weird ways that maybe you yourself are not comfortable in, and even penalizing you for expressing your own opinion. But again, you have to play the game with a grain of salt, a giant lug of grain of salt, because it's a fiction. It's a game where you can learn how to rig the stats in order to get the best outcomes. Or you can play the game as a romantic adventure, just depending on how you do it. Like, there's people who play Pokemon, all they're doing is just hunting for shinies, while other people are playing the game just to find all the collectible items. Thank you. Lovely burp, Riley. Oh, hi, sleepy baby. You having a good day? Alright, so that was everything for that. Video games, what was it? The title, Video Games and Gender, the depiction of women in Tokimeki, Girl Side First Love. Well, it did explain quite a bit of information that I hadn't reflected upon in the game. There is some things that it is a dating game, so certain aspects they're going to push for you to succeed, while other mechanics maybe they're going to put on the back burner, like making friends, pursuing hobbies, all that stuff, they're gonna be like, you can do it, but we're not really gonna give you a lot of praise for it. But since it's a dating game, if you can woo someone, make them fall in love with you, that's gonna give you like a giant crazy ending screen, cue the music, cool little CGs and voice acting. It gives you a different feeling for what you have accomplished, while maybe you're a pro gamer, you have a successful job, you graduated top 5 in your class. The game's gonna be like, you didn't have a relationship. It's gonna weigh it differently. But I really like it that there's all these new articles coming out, because there's some from 2019, 2018, the article from 2015. When was this other one written? Because it didn't have a date on it. Where is the date on this other article? Yeah, I don't see a date on this other article. It's a mystery. Nope, can't find it. Okay. Well, since that is quite a bit of reading to do, I'm gonna skip over to this other thing that I can think about and contemplate. Because since I was supposed to be on Monday night, because I wanted to do like a review of my mental health, and I saw this piece about the 6 human needs, I wanted to kind of broaden my thought process on this. Broaden my thought process on it some more. So where we are here. Where's my water? I put it over there. Pardon me, excuse me, chair. Okay. Well, actually, I shouldn't put it there. Let me scoot you. There we go. Perfect. You're way too small on the screen, paper. Thank you. Now. Oh, there we go. I was like, oh my gosh, where's this journal? Where's my journal? Well, I mean, like, where's my 16th million... What? I guess I was trying to start something on this page because it says, number 3, rehearse before phone call? Absolutely. Oh, that might answer my question. There's freaking a page that's been torn out, but let's just ignore that. I'm just gonna use the backside of this page. But basically, 6 human needs. Life transformation, marriage, business, health, and personal life. From the International Inventiveness. Please tell me I didn't get orange on this shirt. I can't tell. Anyways. The greatest strategy for living a fulfilled life. If we can get the 6 basic human needs. What is it? Pulled from Maslow, but Maslow pulled that from... What was it? Whichever tribes that he was working with, because I know Abraham Maslow ripped a lot of his work from other people as well, but again, American psychologist of the time, he was able to say he created something when he really didn't. He just got inspired. Big old problem. But then there's a Tony Robbins. Is Tony Robbins... Tony Robbins, this dude, right. I can't remember if Tony Robbins is, like, in trouble or anything, or if he's just, like, a legit good person. Hopefully he's just a good person. Anyways. All have needs, not just for basic survival, but 6 profound needs that must be fulfilled for a life of quality. Needs of love and connection, variety, significance, certainty, growth, and contribution. Now, the first 4 are necessary for survival and a successful life. But what do they mean by what kind of survival and what kind of successful life? Because some people are going to see a successful life as they have a roof, they're paying their bills, they can eat, drink, and use a restroom. Other people are going to say they need to have a Tesla and a stock market, something. It all is a range. Now, love and connection. For me, myself, I do have love and connection because I can look at my family unit. Even though it has crumbled over the years, because it used to be a lot more people I was connected to, a lot of close family relationships, a lot of friendships that lasted years, but they have changed over the years, or I don't need constant support from those people anymore. But I still feel connected, I still feel love, and I still feel I can give them love and connection back. So that is a need I know I either have had fulfilled, or it's a connection and need that I'm reestablishing because having significant relationships where they ended up blowing up in my face, it makes you have to question your connection, how great your love was, or how blinded you were because of naiveness. So something we can reflect on and be proud of at the same time. Because realizing what I do need, what I don't need, boundaries, and even understanding different types of love, what connections I do need, what connections I can work on, how to build myself a better set of communication skills in order to make those connections. Another thing, communication. As always, learning how to communicate with different perspectives, different vocabulary, a different set of views, it'll go a long way to meet more than halfway. If I can take that extra step or two to research, to actually, be compassionate instead of being just empathetic. Because being compassionate, you have to go out of your way more than just vibe with them. I don't know, maybe that's just my perspective of the words empathy and compassion, where compassion, you're going to go above and beyond, while empathy, you can meet halfway. That's just how I view it. Now, variety. What do we mean by variety? Let me skip down, because obviously we've gone through the love and connection. And look, it gives you a list of positive meanings. Family, immediate friends, close friendly, quality time, connection with your community or work, good deeds, volunteering, being kind, because it's free to be kind. To be an asshole, to be a dick in the world, takes more energy. To be nice, to be friendly, and just give good happiness is very freeing. Sure, there is some people who come up to you with vile spit hate, but you can go with the phrase of killing them with kindness, because I don't have to let myself get corroded with becoming bitter when I can just smother myself in happiness at times, if necessary. Marital intimacy. Why do we say it like that? That's so weird. Marital intimacy? I mean, do they mean the creaky creak, or do they mean bonding with someone that you're going to promise yourself to? That's a little ambiguous, because the other ones, they're straightforward, word for word meanings. Cuddling, loving on your pets. I mean, you can't see Briley, but she's over there being a goober. Eye contact, okay. Just staring at people, looking at them, eyeball to eyeball, okay. Join a club. Okay. Now, negative. Dominating and controlling others who are forced to show appreciation. Being helpless, so people have to take care of you. Always talking. This is worded in a very bad way, because some illnesses you have to talk about because no one else is aware of your needs, or because sadly you have to be your own advocate. So I mean, this is a terrible thing to actually put, because some people don't understand about chronic pain. Some people don't understand about, what is it? There was a creator on YouTube. He has something with his spine that it forces him have to be in a tilted back position because something with gravity is messing with him. Or like illnesses like diabetes, because there's still people who are oblivious of how blood sugar works. Because recently they talked about how teachers got in trouble because they took away someone's phone because it was a blood sugaring monitor. Now, staying depressed, you receive attention. This is terribly written, both of these 2 points. And then emotional eating, oh my gosh. Negative meanings, oh my gosh. Like, staying depressed, you mean I don't even understand why they're saying that. Like, depression's not something you can switch on and off. And if you're looking for love and connection, this is a whole other thing. You might be depressed because maybe PTSD, because someone died, because something in the world. And now emotional eating. I mean, we have eating disorders, we have thyroid disorders, we have where eating may be the only thing that you have control over. Or this might be, what is it? There's some calorie counting, because depending on what kind of lifestyle you've lived before. All 3 of these points, they're badly expressed. And then deviant sexual activity. Superficial love. Now, why say deviant? Because this makes it seem like it's disapproving of having fun, casual times. I mean, you can have that if you're looking for love and connection, or you don't. Again, 4 points now that are poorly written. And then addiction. Do we really need to put addiction into the love and connection point? Because addiction's a whole lot of other things going on besides just like biological brain chemistry, whole other additional things. And children displaying rebellion or other bad behaviors. But I mean, busy and neglectful parents. Negative means of love and connection. To satisfy. I mean, children are going to display rebellion because they are seeking attention, but they need something. What? Probably because it's... Yeah. mental illness not as open. Good point. How they talk of, well, this article is from a Jennifer Price, though, and from Propose the 6 Basic Needs from Tony Robbins. I don't think either of this person's Japanese, unless they're taking it from a Japanese model, and that's why these meanings sound very negative on mental health. Because then they say forms of self-love, self-soothing, self-connection. Eh. Oh, they actually give you questions at the end. What do you do to feel love and connection? Giving, receiving, or both? For me, I feel love and connection by spending that time with that or those people. Being present with them is the best way to feel that, because digitally speaking, you can have FaceTime all the time, but if you're not present with them, it's going to take a lot of willpower to mentally put yourself there, when if you're physically there, you can connect and you can sense their presence. I don't really know about giving or receiving love and connection. Honestly, I think more because me as a friend, me as a romantic partner, more so giving love and giving connection, because in all cases I've been receiving it back. Or just say both. I mean, that's the easier way to put it, but heavy-handed giving that, but I'm taking it as well. And what do I do to receive? Well, listen. That's the biggest thing. Listen, reflect, and inquire after certain things happen. That way you know you're involved in their world. How do you receive? Oh, how do you give? How would I give love and connection? Obviously, my time, energy, and my patience. But how to receive it is just be present with them. And what I do to receive is, it does border on being very toxic, positive-wise, where I do try to spin everything in a happy perspective, because I know I will fall into a pit of despair if I let too much negativity into my brain. So I kind of guard it with rainbows and sunshine. This is more general advice, because I finished up that dating game research. But this is more general, you can use in all walks of life. Now, variety, the spice of life. Interesting to one person, TVs, watching boo songs, ordering something different, base jumping, gambling, swimming with sharks. So exercises are emotional, psychological, mental, and physical range. One way to combat depression and anxiety. Okay, suspense, surprise. Okay, so pretty much what you do with your time. Well, for variety's sake, well, different forms of activity, participating. Definitely going to a spa once in the blue moon is like just a ungodly relaxation. If you can have like a hot bath and a hot towel on your face, just transports you to another place. It would be nice to go at some point to do pedicures and manicures again, because I just get so anxious being around other people when I have my fingers and toes trapped with sharp objects, and I'm very ticklish. So it's a very awkward situation for me, because I have to use 80% of my willpower not to twitch. Last time I did that, I ended up getting my toe cut. That was not a fun time for me. Extreme sports, live art, so going to a rave, going to a club, going to VR zombies, all those things. Spontaneous traveling. Okay. Really? You're gonna put that at the very top? And what do you mean by deviant? That word means so many things to so many other people, and that you throw that on the negative side. And then creating drama, violent behavior, and again, they talk about emotional eating, so clearly they're butting their head into eating disorders. Viewing pornography? Oh no. And overly excited during crisis. That's a weird thing to, well, I guess in the way of, like, someone may have a fetish for seeing a car crash, that kind of thing. That might be what they're talking about, being overly excited, maybe deriving pleasure from other people's pain, that kind of thing. Especially if they're talking about creating drama, conflicts, problem, and then getting excited over that said crisis. Why did they put these two in two separate categories? Experimenting with drugs, alcohol, and then they put cigarettes. Like, that's the same thing. Why did they need a separate bullet point? And that does not give you variety if you're just smoking. Unless it's like a fruity smell or something. Okay. Yeah, it's very conservative, even though some of the negative stuff could be good, because, like, they talk about a lot of times in relationships to view each other's preferences, so that shouldn't be a negative thing. They should just say sparingly, because again, you can go into a dark black hole looking at certain different materials online. Now, experimenting, technically, certain drugs, because we don't know exactly what drugs they're talking about, because there is drugs that are okay and drugs that are actually very bad. There's a big difference between the two in experimenting. There's some that actually have lots of research that backs it, that it's okay to experiment in a certain safe area. But then obviously addictive drugs, I'm guessing they're talking about, like, probably heroin or something that's debilitating. Now, cigarette smoking, God, it smells like a skunk. It just stinks. There's no reason to do it. It just makes you smelly. Now, how do I meet my need for variety? Well, books, video games, learning languages, playing lacrosse, taking my dog on new activity runs, DIY projects in my room to better suit my needs, gardening, that's a new one, video game design, that's been on and off for years because coding is a challenge. But those are some ways I can meet my need. Now, good gosh, someone's squeaking a toy. What do you do with your physiological focus and language during your variety versus time when you're bored? Wait. What is this sentence? What do you do with your oh God, come on, word. I'm just gonna Google it. Google, help me. Physiology. There we go. So, how I am, like in all myself, my being, compared to when I'm bored. Well, first thing, active motion, positive word choice. And probably even the focus is more hyper fixated because maybe there's a goal, maybe there's a mystery to solve. Compared to when you're bored, you might be negative, lack motion, or lack the drive to explore and learn. Those kind of things. And I don't mean like active motion, like physically move, because obviously wheelchair bound for some, or if you don't have that motion available to you, but like feeling it, like the will motion, the turning of like determination, to put it in a weird way. Yes, the fancy word for the body. I always forget that physio. I just said it. Brain. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna have to look it up again because I've absolutely forgot how to say it. How do I forget this quickly?
Physiology.
Okay. With the physiology. Now, if I can remember that word for 2 seconds. Now, the difference in your feeling and behavior. Wait, I already answered that question already. Okay? Now, problems, hesitations, or fear that give you emotional uncertainty. Well, I mean, anxiety, freaking anxiety, social anxiety, uncomfortable situations, and just the whole fact of someone might just want to kill me one day because I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's the perfect time for them to do crazy stuff. That is a big old lumpin' jumpin' fear that you go somewhere and it's the wrong time to be there. Gosh. But then again, that's the whole thing of life can end at any moment, but then you have to experience it still, but then you're scared for it to end because what if it ends too soon and it spirals into a whole cluster of uncertainty, and the whole thing of prevent you from trying new things. Hear about all these roller coasters that break, airbags that don't deploy, parachutes that fail to open, shark tanks that break, like just random chances. And then the whole movie series of Final Destination making literally going outside being super concerning to even try. But the whole deal of having enough variety in some capacity in order to negate those hesitations and those paranoias. Because still, even living at home, you never know, because a freaking meteorite could crash you at any second because the planet. Good gosh. Let's move on from variety and look at significance. Feeling special, significant, or important to other people or a group of people. Now, not in a prideful or needy sense, but feeling important, feeling wanted, or having identity capital. Now, obviously with children feeling like they're number one in their parents' lives. Though I didn't experience sibling rivalry. I mean, yeah, me and my siblings fought quite a bit, heavily so, when we were younger. We did make up at some point. But really, I don't know, maybe it's like, at some point, I realized I don't have to be number one priority in my parents' life, but just that they have my back if the worst gets going, which they've done so for me. They've kept me safe from horrible things that could have possibly happened. They've supported me when I needed help with school. So it's, I don't know, it's just like the whole thing of, sure, it'd be great to feel like you're number one, but it's your parents' life still. You want to make sure they're having a good quality of life as well. Hang on, let me just readjust my shoe. It slipped off my foot. Pretty much if you're in the 2, 3, or 4 spot of priorities, you still will feel very accomplished. If you're feeling like number 1, you might have like a helicopter parent depending on how that looks. Which I'm happy my parents gave me some free range to live life and to have mistakes that I could fail and regret it, but even to learn from it. Like, my parents didn't fight me or even draw concern when I was proposed to and got married. No one really stepped up with any hard lecture of not doing that. So, in a way that is good, that they would trust me or even just know that they could catch me if I failed. But then at another part, it's a little frustrating that there wasn't more reigning control, because I was still like a kid. Like, my mental capacity for being naive was very high. So it goes both ways, where you're like, why aren't you a helicopter parent? And then why aren't you a free range? You can't win. Now, with the connections, with feeling significant, a hierarchy pecking order develops, and we begin to question our superiority, inferiority, and the end, significance and importance. So, we feel connected by others in 2 broad ways. On a deeper level, when they realize they genuinely care about this and we care for them. Now, on a superficial level, if we have things in common. Now, if you have things in common, you can ride through the bad times, the good times, and reminisce. That's great. But deeper level of that, when they'll come to the hospital with you when you're injured, or pick up your homework, or drive you to the airport, or stay up on the phone with you. Just little different interactions that show they give a shit about you, honestly. Like, they want to be in your world. They want to walk with you on your journey. They don't want to just catch up whenever it's convenient. But I mean, superficial or not, you can have both at the same time, and you can have one or the other. I mean, we're humans. We develop our relationships a bit funky at times. And that's not bad. It's just people do it differently. Now, do I struggle with insignificance? There is times I think about it, yeah. Because, I mean, what am I actually doing presently in my world, in the earth, on the existence that I do have? What I'm actually giving my purpose to. It could be just helping other people here and there for little things. It could be massive, where I save a president. Who knows? What's up? Optimizing my IRL. I mean, it's always good to optimize it, because I don't want to be a toxic person. I don't want to give someone a bad dating experience. And I want to make sure it's healthy and that everyone wins, that it's a satisfying time for both parties, or more, because you never know, someone might be poly. But it goes besides just dating to optimize it, just how I interact socially, which I can use a lot of these principles on how I interact with some of my coworkers, how I can make them feel more significant, how I can help them feel more connection or give them more praise when they're doing things correctly. Because I know how I talk to some of my coworkers is very short and efficient, because I want to be able to move very quickly. Which is bad, because not all conversations open up super fast. It takes time. I can't just word vomit on someone and expect all this deeper meaning to come out of it. A lot of times, I guess it's just me having more patience and having the ability to let go of the reins of control. So that is something I do a lot with other people I'm working with, that I will just expect to do things myself, or I'm going to be short and sweet with them instead of be further developing conversation. Can just use it as a general guide about the stuff like depression. Yeah, need to know about it, but you can't expect them to be your therapist and trauma dump. That is a very, very good point. A general guide, I mean, depression, anxiety, any kind of mental health where if you have a partner and they're struggling through something, you have to figure out the fine line between supporting and caring about them, but not being their enabler or their disabler. Like the whole thing of can't promote bad habits, but you can't like both ways of the good and bad. But that's a good point about the whole thing of trauma dump and that you're not their therapist. A therapist is someone who can actually look at it without the bias and start to help you from an outside perspective. Why is my nose running? I can't be dying. Can't be allergies, right? Then again, when did I last take allergy medicine? I don't remember. Maybe I should take that today. Note to self me, take allergy medicine later. Actually, just put that up in here. That way I don't forget. Allergy medicine. Good. Now, the positive meanings for putting significance. Okay, yeah, this is really freaking biased. Wow. Putting that at the very top of having purpose, having significance, you're really gonna say, serve one's country. Bro, the military is so fucked up. Seriously, there is way too many people I've already seen in this state alone that have had horrible, horrific, shitty takes about being in any of the military units. And you're really gonna put it at the very top of positive meanings? Get out of here. This is a terrible take. Now, this goes either way, because providing for your family, because then there's the whole thing of a lot of Asian families where the older daughter, the older son has to keep helping out the younger siblings or keep helping out the parents, even though they're being completely drained dry and they have nothing for themselves. But then it's the whole fact of your family brought you up, they raised you, they gave you this opportunity, but there's boundaries. You can only provide so much for your family before they're leeching you dry. Okay, but this is a good one. Compared to the other two, meaningful work, homemaking, volunteering, the career, and at least expands it so it's not just money work where you can maybe do arts and crafts, maybe you can do, what is it? Neighborhood watch. You can do where you learn about medical treatments, like, because opioids, big old problem. You can get those, what is it, the Nox? The overdose drug thing that you can inject to save someone if they're having an overdose. I forget what it's called. But honestly, meaningful work. This one makes sense for being significant because how you put yourself out there. You could be volunteering. I mean, go to a dog shelter, pet the dogs, play with the cats. It gives you some significance in some form, and it gives you identity capital because if you're passionate about keeping pets safe, giving them a loving home. Even just seeing them once or twice, it gives them some kind of happiness. Now, major contributions. It is a good positive, but it's a daunting one to put because not everyone knows how to make a major contribution, because there's people coming up with these crazy new inventions or hacks or medical breakthroughs that you never thought possible. I mean, just yesterday we saw a teenager made some kind of tracking app that could detect when poachers are coming close to rhinos or elephants, which that is amazing, but it's even terrifying that we need that kind of product. But that they saw the need to make this and now it's there, so hopefully it does deter more poachers away from hurting these creatures. Mad props, because that is a major contribution to humanity. Financial wealth. Provided you do charitable things with your money. Very specific though, because it's not telling you to be greedy, but it's just talking about charity wise. So, is that good? Because I don't know, it just says it in financial wealth, but then in the parentheses saying charitable. Shouldn't it just say give back or do charity? It's a little weird how they worded that. Now, success. Being the best at something. But then their examples are athletes, business, and entertainment. All very risk-taking pursuits. Being an athlete, because one torn ACL, one shattered knee, and you could be done. Business, you could make it or break it, or you could get $30,000 loan and you're screwed. And then breaking through big problems. But they don't explain what the big problems are. So again, this article's really how old is this article? Is there a date for this? Accessed January 2021. So this article is either from 2021 or earlier, because this is still really forcing certain perspectives onto people. Oh wait, where we are. Oh, spirituality. Well, it does say it in spirituality, so at least it's not saying find religion. So it gives it a broader term. But then these three. Achievement. Achieve what? And then build something. It's not giving you anything to work with. It's just saying one word and be like, figure it out. And then this one, successful at something healthy, positive, or good. Okay. And then here, negative mean failure. Just having failure. Failure is going to happen. Or then this, being the sickest in the group. Some people can't help being sick. You're really gonna say being the sickest in the group. And then for the same reason above. Dang. And in pride, well, obviously this makes sense. By tearing down someone, yeah. Trash talking, gossiping, tearing someone down. Not a great thing to do. For children, who has the most toys? Freaking Harry Potter? There was 36 last year, but last year. Gang violence. I mean, you can have a gang, but you don't have to be violent. You can do productive things, but turf wars, different aspects of life, tensions. This is a whole other issue in itself. Didn't I already answer this? how I make myself feel significant? How do I make myself feel significant? I mean, living intentionally, finding good and happy things in life, supporting others, finding new ways to understand the world, discover knowledge, probably reflecting. That's how I would feel significant. But how I would make others feel significant? I mean, giving them my time and energy, praising them for their good and successes. From a gang to a dentist? Wow, congrats to that. I mean, sadly, it seems you can go from like a bad place and you rise up. That's a great thing. Like, how do you go from being in a gang to being like, I'm gonna mess with people's teeth now? But then again, it is good money. I'm trying to wrap my brain around how someone pursues a lifetime job of looking and fixing people's teeth. Like, think about it. Before dentistry was a big thing, that had to be something that someone deliberately chose because they didn't want to do like heart surgery, they didn't want to do brain surgery, but they wanted to mess with teeth. Then again, people who mess with specifically nose, throat, and mouth issues. But then if you're more specialized, you have a greater understanding of those working parts. Bad city, okay, but at least he had his head on right, so he was able to rise up from where he was. And it's a good thing that he survived, because sadly, a lot of gang violence does happen where someone doesn't make it. So, has a better life now, so bravo to that. Is there anything else I could do to make someone else feel significant? I mean, talking, addressing by name, eye contact, just putting in a little bit extra effort into how they're doing. Do I experience significance on a regular basis? I mean, I can experience significance on a regular basis if I choose to acknowledge it, if I choose to reflect on it. Now, being married before, there was a time, yeah, I felt like I was the most significant person, but that quickly changed. And then we're just gonna skip that next question. Your parents, I don't have kids besides a fur child. Do they feel most important to you? I mean, to my dog, I feel very, very important. Now, certainty. Dental school? You went to have a program to help? Oh, that's a good way to go about it. Good point, because there is a lot of places that are underserved for dentistry, or low income areas, rural areas, and especially like they're talking about in TikTok how they need dentists who work specifically with First Nation, indigenous people's teeth, because they are different compared to some other people's teeth. That was something to note. But yeah, underserved because how much it costs actually to do dentistry and in the insurance. And even if you need root canals, if you have crowns, cracked teeth, if there's any kind of health issues arising from them, that's a smart way to go about dentists or dentistry to help the underserved communities that need it. Oh, he was gonna work on a reservation? But hey, working in the city, there was a need for it, and he can give back to the community. So there's something in that that's still good. But that's really cool. He had an opportunity to work on a reservation. But I mean, he would need to understand the different teeth set, so depending on how much education you need to do that. Oh, work for the city. Gotcha. Gotcha, that makes sense. Now, what the heck is certainty? To feel safe, to be comfortable, and to experience pleasure while avoiding pain. Feeling stable, grounded, protected, secure, and predict certain necessities to safeguard in your life. Okay. Yeah, that is something that has definitely changed in my life. Just being comfortable where you are, knowing you can go to sleep at night, you can walk around, you are able to just do your basic daily needs without feeling like something is going to come and take your happiness away. Now, like every other basic need, the amount varies, which is going to make sense because you don't need the same level of certainty if you were living, say, like Doctors Without Borders, or if you were living in Belgium. Depending on which area you're in, certain level of comfortability, stability are necessary between those two different things of traveling country to country as a solo backpacker compared to you're a doctor treating an unknown disease. Very different situations, but they vary just on certain different things where if you're experiencing pleasure, you're experiencing maybe traveling outside of your home country for the first time, speaking a new language, maybe fumbling with your change, while the doctor is going to be just making sure they can save their patients, get to a location quick enough, be able to get medical supplies. I can understand this certainty. Oh, he's working at a clinic for low-income people? Oh, which hopefully that's like giving back a good energy to him for his work, because dentistry is necessary, obviously, but it probably is not high risk, high energy, no. High stress. It could be high stress depending on if people can come into their surgeries, if they're able to get the medication, because that's another part of it. You get root canals, you get pulled those wisdom teeth, they ask you anesthesia, they ask you for getting those antibiotics to take them. It can be a bit of a struggle, especially if you're going to need to educate them on certain different pill management, time management, keeping wounds safe and clean, going back to work, what you can and can't do, like lifting wise. But it can be very fulfilling because you're helping someone else that never had this chance to have that kind of like work done. Some people really need it for like heart health because it's like all connected, or even just cosmetically, it makes someone change their confidence as well. Now, like the other 5 needs, it's relative based on your psychological blueprints. Okay, but the human brain's not designed to handle great levels of uncertainty, which a lot of the research we looked at in child abuse, neglect, domestic violence, sexual offenders, and when we looked at information about how child abuse, child neglect happens in youth, how it affects the DNA, how it affects your coping mechanisms, it goes right into this. Not designed to handle great levels of uncertainty because it transforms the human brain, fight or flight, the whole thing of stress, panic, having anxiety, having PTSD, and that will go to great and desperate lengths to obtain certainty, which could go down bad choices because they think quick money, quick safety, or run away or not run away. Yeah, that's a whole lot to unbag. The quality of your life depends on how well you adapt to uncertainty. But I mean, there's only so much you can adapt when uncertainty keeps shifting it, because having a roof, homelessness, stable living, rent skyrocketing, places where your neighbors are a threat or a danger, having access to public transport or living conditions that are sanitary and hygienic, knowing how to obtain healthcare. I mean, understanding where you can actually get healthcare and not be screwed over in medical bills, and how to safely acquire these things, because now freaking people can tattletale on you for money for freaking abortions and stuff. Like, it's freaking crazy. See? Knowing your neighbors won't attack you. Sometimes your neighbors are a threat. You could be living in a great place. Wonderful. But if you have scary neighbors, how are you supposed to live in peace? Look, security in your job, security in your marriage, maintaining a close relationship with your children, well, that's a whole thing of, were you actually good to your kids, or were you a narcissist? Were you a bad parent? Were you a distant parent? That, you can't really put that in a positive meaning, because two people have to play that game, the parent and the kid. Holding faithful to religious beliefs. I mean, there's way too many religious beliefs that are crazy and really stunt progress, so I can't really find the positive meaning in that. Now, negative, hoarding. Of course. Overeating. Gosh. They've talked about this now, the eating stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4 times already. They're absolutely triple, double gaining down on this phrase. Smoking, obviously, talking about that again. Controlling, manipulation, drinking, causing problems. Oh no. Micromanaging. See, this is something I have a big old problem with. Micromanaging. Even though that is part of my job to do, I am very heavy-handed on micromanaging, where I will take over instead of let someone else do it, which puts more stress on me. Withdrawing. Could be. That could be me as well. Withdrawing from conversations, how to keep a close connection. The first step to gaining certainty, if you feel you're lacking, is to look at your overall life and realize you've made it through so much, and you've always been able to do it. A little creepy how accurate that statement is. Okay. But yeah. Look at the blessings, be grateful, but even to realize stability and even finding variety in that stability would increase the fruitfulness of my experience in life. And we've already answered all these questions. Growth. Everything in existence is either dying or growing. And obviously, we need to continue to grow in every capacity. And now my nose is itchy. Now, spiritual satisfaction. I mean, from my point of view, you can't have satisfaction in your spirituality until you go beyond this existence, because then you are no longer limited by one experience anymore. But sure, you can get close to it. You can be enriched and grateful and with a sense of faith. But the whole thing of being physically active, our bodies degenerate. If we stop growing intellectually, our memory fades. Stop growing emotionally or psychologically, we repress inappropriate thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Okay, at least it has all good things in this growth. Personal development, instruments, hobby, faith, exercise, reading. What is it going to put in negative? Growing into a despicable human. Okay. Give in to bad habits. What bad habits? Watching too much television. I mean, depends on what television you're watching. Are you watching the Discovery Channel? Are you watching BBC? Are you watching the cooking? Because then there's the whole fact of, what if you're watching anime? What if you're watching soap operas? What if you're watching a show in order to learn the language and the slang? Can that really be a negative thing then? Because you are technically growing because you're experiencing it as well. Or it can mean if you're not doing enough physical activities as well paired with that. Now, contributions. Is that the end? There are so many things to think about with our human needs. The act of looking beyond oneself, going beyond one's own needs and giving to others with no hoped for or expected personal gain. So, altruism? Making a difference, contributing, is the king of the 6 human needs. It regulates the others. If you focus on contribution, you'll have connection, probably love. You'll have variety as you do something different. Significance is fulfilled because you know you're helping others, improving, and you'll have certainty because you'll be able to contribute. So pretty much if you're struggling with the 6 human needs, get contribution in order and the rest will follow. So, service-based, spending time, visiting, basically like volunteering. Do you really have to... You put all these great contributions, but then you throw in, like, you can't just say, like, oh, if you contribute, adopt a child, fostering. That's more than just adopting a child. You're bringing someone into a new space that they're not aware of and they're probably not comfortable in. Like, you can't say a life of fulfillment. There's a whole bunch of trauma to that kid. And it just feels a little selfish putting it into this category. I mean, sure, going beyond your needs to helping this kid, but then who is the person? Because we've had way too many ineligible or ill-fitted families take in kids who needed specific culture, specific language, specific mental or physical needs met that were not met. I don't know. I don't know if I really enjoy these two being in this category. It sounds like it's a good thing, but it's more than just it's more than just one person involved in this. Because sure, giving to your children, charitable donations, they sound all great and they give you self-purpose, but if you're adopting or fostering a child, it's because more than just helping yourself, it's helping them, helping so they can live the best life or even go back to their original home when the situation changes, because Sometimes it's just because poverty. Sometimes it's because of domestic violence, or maybe drugs, or the timing is terrible. Too much rambling on that. Now, negative, contributing to the destruction of others. Bullying, selling drugs. I mean, technically, isn't that with every pharmaceutical company who's selling drugs, pushing drugs? So it's like, you can't really put that into a negative contribution, because there's a lot of people who are actually legitimately selling drugs on a FDA level. And then, yes, there is others who are selling drugs underneath that, but they are helping someone out depending on context. And then really, prostitution. Like, bro, this person who wrote this is so old school. Like, get with the times. Creating negative art that influences others. Bad music. But what did they mean by negative? That's such an odd phrase to put in, but I'm guessing maybe, I don't know what they're even trying to go for with this comment. Now, this is a little wild. General voting public towards degeneration of a nation. I mean, we have to bash politicians and governors in the general voting, because, I mean, if we don't question them, I mean, is it questioning? Is that what this phrase is supposed to mean? Oh, probably like the downfall of a nation. Well, depends on what's going on contextually. That's another thing. Okay, the first 4 human needs are necessary for human survival and a fundamental need of the personality. But the last 2 human needs, growth and contribution, are needs of the spirit and necessary for a life of fulfillment. Which, it's still, like with Maslow's hierarchy, getting to growth and contribution can be difficult to get to, because getting all these points, like, fulfilled can be difficult. Because especially if you're not quite in the right job, the right hobby, the right family, the right relationship quite yet, it's going to feel very daunting to ever get to this point. But once you succeed, I mean, give some kind of connection, variety in your life, importance, and stability, and then you're able to grow and give back. Makes sense. Obviously, being in a healthy relationship, volunteering or service-based, exercise, don't do drugs and alcohol, don't overeat and emotional eat. It really pushes that point so much. It is really not body friendly. Creating drama, gang violence. Oh, that was the only bullet points? That was very short for bullet points at the end. Okay. Well, that was the end of that thing. But we did reflect on a few things to think about in life. Okay, put you there, flip you there. Ugh. Where's my music? Ugh, I do need to take allergy medicine. I'm realizing my nose is half clogged still. Super freaking uncomfortable. Ugh. And I do need to get chapstick. What time is it? Because I do still need to go to that store before it closes and before traffic becomes hectic. So it's like, nah. Yeah, I should head out there before it gets crazy. But just had a good little talk, reflect on some things, and kind of just think about overall life. Because obviously the biggest thing, it's getting closer and closer to voting, making sure everyone's signed up, telling more people to pursue voting, putting in a ballot, because certain different politicians need to get out of office. But this was mostly just to escape and to wander inside my brain and kind of just look at what priorities, what needs have changed over the years, because the biggest thing, certainty, stability in life, has dramatically changed from even like 4 years ago to now. Like, now there is days where I feel safe to be alone in my own home. That there's days where I feel safe to go to sleep and not think it's going to be over. Before, there was a lot of instability where you would wonder minute to minute what was going to happen next. That literally, I was holding my breath sometimes. And now I actually can breathe easier on certain aspects. Obviously, world news, that's the reason to hold my breath every 2 seconds. But we have some peace. We have some growth, honestly. I guess I'm in that point where I am growing more as a person, where we've established love and connection. We've established variety. We've established certainty. We've established... what was the other one? I absolutely forgot. What was it? No, we've absolutely forgot my brain. Brain, help me. Come find me again. Love, connection, variety, significance. I do feel like I have more significance in my life in comparison to when I was younger. That I don't feel as abysmal about. I feel closer to attaining it now. Certainty, obviously, we have security more in our lives. So we're pretty much in that growth period of reflecting, gaining knowledge, and enlightening myself on certain things I may have not been aware of. Like, what's a good example that I can make specific? Well, since I am trying to join a D&D group, I will flesh out my knowledge about it more. Figuring out how to work certain different games, how to do woodworking, gardening. Yeah, okay. Well, I may come back on later today. Kind of want to play YS. I kind of want to play Cult of the Lamb, so we'll find out. But this is all we're gonna do today. It was lo-fi, chill, and me talk a lot. So, have a good day. Goodbye. I am gonna drink the rest of this water. This is quite a bit, but I should do that. It'd be very important. I just wanted to see what it looked like. It looked very funny. But, goodbye. Oh wait, I could do this. Goodbye. Have a good day. Drink your water. Take your medicine. I will be taking allergy medicine, especially because my nose is stuffed. So, farewell. I just had to do the reverb. I love doing it.